Hello, friends. I hope this short video finds you in excellent spirits. We've had a couple of weeks together, and it has been quite fruitful, I must say. The level of discourse has been high. You have enriched our world, and this journey has had a great start, I have to say. Uh, First, on logistics. You've easily figured out that the way in which we will approach the discussions is the first week, people put the initial post, and the second week, we go to the same page and reply to one another, and then continue dialogues, and then try to engage with everybody. Um, so I just wanted to share some reflections about our work and some general ideas as we have launched this excellent seminar together. So, without any kind of expanded prefaces or anything, let me just go into some of my notes that I've taken. In what I have to say right now is basically echoing what everyone else has said in so many words, with so many arguments and discussions and questions and answers and offering data and information about what you have to say. So we are definitely at a doctoral level, and whatever that means, right? These labels can become empty and meaningless sometimes. When somebody says this is at this level, at that level, kind of like I replied to Kate about her discussions on labels and terms and so forth, and say, sometimes these things, when they don't really refer to anything and they're just words that come out there, can be floating signifiers, as Derrida had coined the term. But let's get away from that tangent and let's get into my tangents on my notes. First off, I think this resonates with everyone when I say that teaching should not be just a matter of technique and a bunch of methods and formulas and algorithms that people, get training on and then go into the classrooms and start teaching, professional teaching and so on. Professionalism has been essentially counterintuitive for teachers and counterproductive in many ways based on the evidence that we've seen at least the past 30, 35 years with the inception of neoliberalism entering every facet of our society, including the teaching profession. Uh, it is not a matter of technique, in my view, and I hazard a guess that you will agree with this assessment that teaching is a moral enterprise, an act of love, if you like. So, what can we learn from different schools of thought and theories? You guys have discussed this in many ways with excellent, sometimes exhaustive deliberations on the theories that we had set up for you to read about and reflect upon. Psychological theories, as well as some direct methodologies about approaching classroom teaching, teaching subject matters, and working with pupils, et cetera, et cetera. But the fact of the matter is that different schools of thought, theories, and methods and techniques can teach us some things, but no single method is superior to everything else. In other words, it's not a zero-sum game. We can learn the ways in which the French system, for example, or the British system have had success with producing highly educated citizens of the future, become leaders and so on. Also, critically examine those systems and understand that where are the flaws in such systems that produce the kind of policies that people who are educated coming out of those systems put together. And here we are. What we've done with the environment, what we've done with bigotry, what we've done with classifications of people, nationalities, how we've created demarcations between nations and this border mentality, while at once plunging into the world of globalization, which has brought us economic interconnection as well as necessarily cultural interconnections. So it's been good, bad, and ugly, but we can learn from all of that. In other words, I'm referring to history, how history can be a teacher for teachers to teach the students to become the future leaders and teachers of the future generations and so forth. So we can ask questions. We can say, well, how does the Waldorf approach uh, work in the sense of teaching about going into inquiry and getting the student excited about inquiry and knowing that inquiry is perpetual and ought to be perpetual. Inquiry should be something that we conduct every day of our lives and so forth. How does the Montessori method work? How does it help kindergarteners and the first graders, second graders, and all these labels that we have at different levels of education corresponding with the psychological development of uh, people around the world? How does any system work? And remembering that no one system answers every question. And a teacher must be the kind of person that inspires the students, the kind of person that goes alongside the students into the unknown. And the moral enterprise that I referred to is what brings us into the unknown. It's a journey. It ought to be a journey. In my view, and you may disagree, or you may agree wholeheartedly, teaching is really a calling. If we can, borrow the language of religiosity and spiritualism, it is a calling. It is as if the universe says, you got what it takes to go in there and give it all you have and inspire people. And don't pretend that you're the expert, you know everything. There is no need to pretend to be that. This business of professionalization and assessment and evaluation, we live in the age of performance management. We have managers, administrators with their handy clipboards, always walking around, whether it's in a virtual sense, sending you reports and questions and say, well, we're here to support you and so on. Uh, they really want to manage your performance. Is teaching just a performance according to the standards that have been set up by so-called experts, from policymakers and administrators to us, the teachers, or principals or administrators of specific schools and so forth? And how does the economic factors, play a role here? I mean, these are some of the questions that we have asked this past couple of weeks and from each other. And we've had some nice responses. Of course, the questions are never wholly answered. The questions are always shaping up the future questions that ought to be better questions than the original questions. And so teaching, learning from different methods, learning from histories of teaching, learning from other teachers and students and how other nations are dealing with the notion of public education can help us think deeper and understand at a deeper level the philosophy, science, and methodology of teaching, right? The word pedagogy was under examination this past couple of weeks. Uh, to me, the definition of pedagogy is not just method of teaching. Some people define it that way. Say, well, look, here's my definition. Look at this book. It tells me it's just a method of teaching. That's all it is. Like I come into the room and I talk to everybody, or I come in, give lectures, and leave the room, and it's up to them to figure out whether they learned or not. That's part of pedagogy. Pedagogy is this philosophy of teaching. It's the science of teaching, and also methodology that is involved in that, the delivery of that philosophy and science of teaching. Pedagogy is about learning to be critical thinking and critical engagers, if that's a word that we can use, in the journey of education. So what else do I have to say here? Uh, yeah, we have discussed economics. So one of the central questions that we should be asking, and a couple of people have asked, is why are our schools in the United States of America so badly funded, where parents have to conduct fundraising, events and put together car wash events and cheerleaders, going and selling cookies and all these kinds of things that are meant to supplement the school's budget so they could have a sports program, they could have an arts program, they could have a music program. Arts, music, theater, and sports ought to be part of the core curriculum in any school. And we shouldn't have to, uh, as parents, as teachers, and as tax-paying citizens, have to supplement what our tax dollars should already take care of in terms of funding the schools, to bring in good teachers, and to give students all the tools and the necessary resources and lunches that they need to have an opportunity, and everybody have an equal opportunity, right? The myth of the American dream is that anybody, so long as he or she plays by the rules, anybody can have a chance to make it. And it's pretty abstract. What does that mean? And does really anybody have that opportunity? If you live in South Central Los Angeles and you have to go to public school there, situation is not so great, as Nina can tell you, as I have two very close friends who are now, one is a teacher and the other is a superintendent right here in Sonoma County, who started their teaching careers in South Central Los Angeles. And basically, all they had to do uh, to kind of like make it and survive the year was to do what we refer to in the field, um, kind of pejoratively, as crowd management. Right? You want to teach a subject matter, whether it's physics or chemistry or history or music. Uh, you first and foremost, you have to make sure that the crowds are under control, because things can just go into chaos at any moment. And you try to teach. I mean, how do you get 35 students, 25 students even, to kind of like work together? Some may come to the classroom hungry. Some may come to the classroom the night before they've been beat up by somebody on the street or something. The external world enters the classroom. As sacred as the classroom is, the external world is not divorced from it. We bring our lives into the classroom. We bring our lives into any arena. Now, we may suppress it and pretend that, oh, I'm a professional. I can separate my personal life and my emotional state of being from what I need to do in order to accomplish the goals of the day, and so on and so forth. But the separation of mind body, we have Rene Descartes to thank for that, has been something that's been embedded in the Western mind. And today, I'll share something with you. This past year, I've been researching physics. Long ago, I was an engineering student, so I studied physics. I loved physics, but I didn't have the aptitude to be an engineer, and I didn't have the love for engineering. So I switched majors after a few years, couple of years. But lately, I've been studying physics for this book project that I'm doing, and I must have read from 2019 to today at least 15 different physics books, from classical physics to quantum theory, string theory, and so on and so forth. And what I've discovered is that the physics is about entering into the unknown. Dark matter, dark energy. We don't know what's going on. The spooky business of quantum physics, quantum mechanics. How is it that an electron can be in two places at the same time, but a human being is made out of electrons? We cannot access, if that does exist, that I could be here, I could be also somewhere else at the same time that I'm speaking with you. All this business is pretty spooky. And yet that has given the mindset for future innovators to develop today's, many wireless technologies and so on. So it's quite a journey. The advice that a physics professor can give anybody is that you are entering into the world of unknown. The reality that you experience is only a facet of it. It's only the surface reality. The real reality, if I can say that, is something that we don't quite understand yet, and we don't have perhaps access to yet, and we haven't transcended to that point to be able to experience that reality and so on. That advice can be given to any teacher at any level, K through 12, college, doctoral level, postdoctoral level, anything. Uh, we are always entering into the journey of unknown. And for me, that's pretty exciting. I didn't know how we're going to start this whole thing. I set up some things, created a curriculum, and here we are. Things are getting real exciting. And you guys are, with your backgrounds, are enriching the discourse. You are enthusiastic, and you're bringing nuances to the discourse that, you read something, go, whoa, why didn't I think of that? Well, here it is. Thank you, dear colleague. I'm learning so much, but I was wondering, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? And this is how we've been working together, and that's wonderful. So let's go back to this business of funding. Why are teachers, right, in America getting paid so badly, right? Can you think of a profession? I wrote a note about this. Let me see if I can find it. Can you think of a profession that demands so much? Yes, here it is. Here's my note. Do we know of any profession that demands so much from a teacher and offers so little in way of compensation and support? And by support, I don't mean like this whole business of supervisors looking at numbers and saying, oh, your test numbers are low, blah, blah, blah. The percentages show that, we need to take these kids out of your classroom and put them in the special ADD class or special education and so on, euphemism for we're subtracting the underachievers and just sending them to trade schools, and then eventually trade schools. And then the good ones are going to be here. We're going to focus on them, because they're the ones who are going to go to Yale and Princeton and Harvard and become the future senators and business leaders, et cetera, all that crap. I hope that all of you had a chance to look at the short video news reportage done by ABC of Australia about the school system in Finland, and see the differences. What can we learn from the Finnish system? How they pay their teachers, how they train their teachers, how they give agency and autonomy to the teachers to create their own curriculum. Because curriculum, let me talk about curriculum, because I wrote a couple notes, a few words about curriculum too. Because the Finnish system allows for what I have to say about curriculum. We've looked at theories and information about teaching, schooling, and various theoretical approaches. An epistemology of teaching must help us develop skills of curriculum building. But lots of so-called professionals, right, think curriculum is organization of information and subject matter, right? And, bring in within your discipline, find out, what sort of subjects need to be covered, and follow these guidelines, and then create a curriculum, right? Policies, assessment, et cetera. But curriculum is much more than just information, right? I remember a long time ago, I had a conversation with Bill Ayers when I was at Sonoma State University. He came and gave a talk, and of course, we had mutual friends, and we hit it off right away. I wonder if he remembers this conversation. Of course, I haven't spoken with Bill in years, but Bill Ayers is one of the luminaries of field of education. He was a longtime teacher at the elementary school level, and now teaches doctoral level students and so on. He told me how he views curriculum. And And when he said it, it was something that I felt as well, but I had not articulated it that way at that time. He said that in his experience, curriculum is an ongoing engagement with the problem of determining what knowledge and experiences are most worthwhile. I agreed with him then, and I agree with him now. Curriculum takes on specific subjects, issues, and shapes a specific approach depending on unique situations. Like, for example, the curriculum we're building here is unique to us. And if we were to take this curriculum and try to apply it to some other program somewhere else, it would have to change. It would gain different shades of approaches and so on. And that's the way we ought to see curriculum. It's like a living entity, and it's going to change. It's like your identity, right? Who am I today? Uh, I will be someone else tomorrow versus yesterday. All right. Who was I when I was a child? Who was I when I lived in one country and was speaking one language? And then I learned other languages that I lived in another country and then moved to another country and came back. And then who am I today? All right. Who will I be tomorrow? Identity is such a fluid concept. And so is curriculum. So it ought to be that it ought to be fluid. Certainly, we can share generalities about any curriculum. Otherwise, with no structure, how can we get going with developing discourse and epistemology and grab that knowledge and turn it into actual physical practices and so on. But uniqueness of curriculum must not be forgotten. So I have lots more to say, but I will stop here and just want to say that I'm very pleased with the way in which we've started our work. And I look forward to delving deeper into some more specifics as we approach the next coming weeks. So I hope you view this video, and do not hesitate to contact me with anything, questions, concerns, anything. I'm very, what's the word, honored in to be working with you, and I truly consider this a privilege. See you online, and then later on, Zoom, blah, blah, and then someday we'll see each other face to face and shake hands, give hugs, whatever it takes. Thank you.